Legacy is a powerful word. Every time I hear it, I immediately think of the contrast between legacy and inheritance. Now, inheritance is a wonderful thing. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children and their children's children." It's scriptural. It's a godly thing. And we should absolutely steward what God has given us so we can pass it forward. Here's the contrast. Inheritance is something you leave to someone, and legacy is something you leave in someone. And there is a massive difference. Inheritance is external. You can transfer it, measure it, put it in your will, but it requires constant maintenance from whoever receives it. The moment they stop tending it, it can diminish. Legacy is different. Legacy is internal. It's the way someone thinks after they've encountered you. It's the way they see themselves, the way they carry authority, the way they operate in the world. And you can't put that on a spreadsheet. And it doesn't need maintenance because it lives in them. My husband worked in corporate for 30 years for UPS. And they time everything. How many steps you take, how many stops, how much time you took at each stop. Every single metric was measured, tracked, and optimized. I have advised and coached successful people across all walks of life. Nonprofit organizations, vice presidents, presidents, leaders, and they all know their numbers in their business. But can you tell me the last time you had a real conversation with their team about who they are becoming? And then there are people whose world looks nothing like that, but it's the woman raising her kids who asks herself at the end of every day, did I do enough today? Did I do a good job? The one pouring into small groups every week, wondering if they're making any difference. The one holding her family together through hard seasons, checking herself against some invisible standard that she carries in her chest. Was I enough today? We all have measuring sticks, a way we decide if a day, a month, a season, did it count? At the end of their life, no one wishes they had just worked more. I'm the girl who talks about what matters, what's lasting, what you actually leave behind. What if you could have a life of no regrets? Because we all have passions. We have dreams. We have commitments. I do too. With Vibrant Living International, I want to reach more people. I want to make a difference in the world. So, how do we build something that's actually making a difference while still living a vibrant life? How do we build legacy in people, not just an inheritance to people? It could come down to this. It's not so much what you're doing. It's who you're being while you're doing it. So what might be an alternative to living by your measuring stick, whatever that is? In the corporate world, they call it KPIs, and that stands for Key Performance Indicators. And as I said, everyone has a version of this. The scoreboard is universal. Most of us have inherited ours somewhere along the way. A parent, culture, a standard we absorbed so long ago that we forgot. Is that really God's voice? And I'm not saying measuring's wrong. I mean, I'm the check mark girl. I'm the planning girl. I love that stuff. But stewarding what God gave you matters and accountability matters. So I want to introduce you to something that changes everything underneath these metrics. And it's called KSI, which stands for Kingdom Spiritual Intelligence. What if instead of just living by your measuring stick, whatever that is, whatever metrics you're measuring by, you started focusing first on KSI? Because Kingdom Spiritual Intelligence is a completely different operating system than what most of us are taught. Philippians 2 tells us to have the same mindset as Christ. He had nothing to prove, and his primary goal was pleasing the Father, not preserving himself. And because of that, God supplied the desires, the strength, and the fruit. This is KSI. That is the operating system Jesus modeled. KSI isn't about working harder or doing more or finally hitting that number that makes like you feel like you're enough. It's about aligning with how God designed things to operate. It's about knowing who you are, whose you are, and who God is. When you know these three things at a cellular level, when you're operating from kingdom spiritual intelligence, you stop building for the scoreboard and you start building in people. Are you helping people in your world think differently, see themselves differently, carry something they didn't have before they encountered you? Because every single person has a purpose and every single person has a destiny. And you, whether you're leading a company, a family, a team, a small group, or just your own life, you're either helping people around you to step into theirs, or are you just trying to hit a number? There's a big difference between inheritance and building a legacy. Let me give you a real life example. I worked with a woman who founded a nonprofit. Brilliant vision, deep calling, but she was completely stressed out. Everything felt like a battle for her. Every decision was hard, and most days left her exhausted. The main reason why is she was focused entirely on metrics, on how many people she could serve, how the funding was going to be raised, and how can we prove our impact to the board. All right questions, except they were the only questions she was asking. She didn't know any different. When we started working together, I introduced her to KSI, and we didn't ignore the metrics, but we shifted the foundation. Instead of asking, how do I do more? We started asking, who am I being while I'm doing this? Instead of asking, how do I grow and scale? We ask, how do I align with how God designed me and this organization to operate? Instead of striving to prove her work was valuable, she began resting in the truth that God had already called her and equipped her. And you want to know what happened? In a relatively short period of time, her organization grew in serving 50 times more than when we started. And her personal income tripled. And here's what's most remarkable. She said, Donna, you won't believe it. It got easier. Not because she worked more hours and not because she hired a massive team, but because she was operating from a different place. Kingdom spiritual intelligence instead of just her old metrics. She was building people, not just programs. She was leaving a legacy in her team, not just creating systems to hand off. And when you build from that place, it multiplies. Inheritance is impressive. It's measurable. It needs to be maintained. But legacy is what you leave in people that transforms how they see God, how they see themselves, and how they operate in this world. And that is KSI, and it multiplies continuously. Let me give you the ultimate example for this is about Jesus. He had 3 years of public ministry. Yes, only 3. I know he taught thousands of people. I know there were crowds. I know there were 24, and I know there were 70 and all that. But let's focus today on his inner circle, the ones he spent the most time with, the ones he really invested in, the ones he poured his life into. How many were that? 12. Yes, just 12. If Jesus were operating by our modern leadership standards, that'd kind of look like a failure, wouldn't it? 3 years in your inner circle is only 12 people. We tell him he needed a better marketing strategy or a better platform, more visibility. He should scale. Jesus wasn't building a platform. He was building a legacy. And he didn't leave these 12 men a building. He didn't hand them an organizational chart. He didn't give them a strategic plan with KPIs and revenue projections. He left something in them. A new way of seeing God, a new way of seeing themselves, a new way of operating in the world. He gave them the Holy Spirit, identity, authority. He gave them KSI, kingdom, spiritual intelligence, a completely different operating system. And they went out and did the same for others. This is legacy. It reproduces without you being present. 12 people, 3 years, 2,000 years of multiplication, and it's still growing. Not because he left something for them to manage, but because he left something in them. And that is the 12-person revolution. I want you to take a breath and just step back for a moment. Step back from whatever your measuring stick looks like and just look at your life, your business, your ministry, your family, your home, the people in your circle. One day, all of it will continue without you, not because you failed, but because time just moves forward. And when that day comes, what will they say about you? Not about what you built, not about what you accomplished, not how high did you score, but who were you? What words would they use to describe you? Did they feel stronger around you, clearer, braver, more peaceful, more confident? Did they feel peace? Or will they say, she was really good at what she did. He kept everything together. She worked so hard. What residue are you leaving after every encounter? What fragrance lingers in the room after you've left it? Because that's legacy. Not necessarily what looks good on paper, not what hit its metric, but what people carry because they encountered you. That's a legacy question. We've been taught to measure what we can count, but Jeremiah 17:7-8 gives us a different picture. It describes the one who trusts in God, who's planted by the water, whose roots go deep, and no matter what the season is, drought or whatever, it stays green and bears fruit because it's rooted in the stream, in the source. This is kingdom spiritual intelligence. It's what legacy looks like from the inside. Legacy multiplies. What if you didn't have to do more? What if you just went deeper in the people around you? What if you didn't need to hit a bigger number? What if you need to slow down and just ask, what is my KSI? Because when you focus on that, You're focusing on who you're being, not just on what you're doing. Jesus didn't need to stick around and manage the 12. He left KSI in them, and it kept growing. Maybe the 12-person revolution is exactly what the world needs right now, not louder voices reaching more people, but people in every sphere, in every home, in every circle, rooted deep, staying green, bearing fruit that lasts, that outlives you. That's legacy. Kingdom spiritual intelligence is not a concept, it's an operating system. And sometimes the fastest way to shift an operating system is not just more information, it's a conversation. I have two gifts for you in the description. The first is the Kingdom Spiritual Intelligence Starter Kit. It's yours free. It is the place to go deeper with everything we've talked about today. The second is a wisdom consultation. If you know you want to build more legacy in your home, in your business, in your ministry, in your sphere, and you want clarity, not just more information, you want wisdom without pressure or performance, this conversation is for you. It is about alignment, and both links are in the description. Take the next step, and I will see you there.